So the majority of all the negative comments that I've been getting on the first video is mainly having to do with me appearing to be narcissistic. My bad. Look up Heyoka Empath. You're welcome. Anyways, the point of this is actually to go back and consolidate what I was trying to say in that video, because I was being extremely excited, extremely nervous, and extremely overzealous because I'm getting these floods of ideas. I need to get them out, and it's not exactly like writing papers or drawing out concepts or stuff like that, like I'm used to. Usually, back in my Madden days, I would just sit down and flow, and whatever came out came out. But it's really seeming like I have to be concise, I have to be consolidated. I cannot stand this zit. I'm too old to have zits. Why the hell is it there? Again, showing my imperfections. Sorry. But here's the point that I was overzealously and very, very jumbled trying to get through to you guys. Because when I have that spark of idea, it's got to come out then. There's just something about the creative process for me. It's got to come out then. So let's try to make this as short and sweet as possible. The Alchemist, this lady. Somebody told me her name is Sarah. Cool. Hi, Sarah. No disrespect, but yeah, a little bit of disrespect. I'm not gonna lie and be disingenuous. There's disrespect here. Simply because I know the process she's talking about. I know the journey that she's describing to all of you, and I know the lessons that every single person in this life is supposed to meet and overcome and evolve from. And my core fundamental problem is simply her calling herself the Alchemist, because the Alchemist is a term both symbolically and literally. That means you are the master over your reality. You are the master. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to shake as much now, because I get complained about. So I try to be considerate. I might be condescending, and I'm not going to apologize, but I'm trying to be considerate. So let's get back to that. The whole assumption, altogether, wrapped up, just your general thought of it, the symbology of it, everything. An alchemist is somebody who has mastered over their reality, who has mastered all the stages, all the concepts up until that point. And in order to get there, symbolically now, this and symbolism has no bearing on someone being far left, far right, in the middle whatsoever. It goes above and beyond that for anybody that is uninitiated. In order to get to the alchemist level, you have to pass through the mage. You have to pass through the magician level. Symbolically, the magician stands for the teacher. You guys get it now? The whole thought of Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings, that's the magician. The magician is there to guide the hero on his journey and give him/her the appropriate information at the appropriate time. It might not be in the way that they need it or they like it, but they get that information, and it's given to them in such a way that you absorb it and you go back to it and you remember it. That is the point of the magician. The magician doesn't care about your feelings. The magician doesn't care about how you take things. The magician only cares about teaching you the lessons you need to learn. Whether that is by way of you looking at him as the crazy shaman, as the bad guy, as your lovable uncle, or as your sage grandfather, grandmother, whatever symbology you want to put to it. I can only speak from my point of view. That's a male point of view. My bad. But then again, I thought that we all wanted people to embrace their real genders these days. So, which way do you want it? I'm sorry that I'm down the middle and I'm spiritual and kind of woo-woo, and at the same time, I'm down to earth and I'll get in your face and I will fuck you up. Sorry. My bad. But it is what it is. So, that is the core emphasis of my problem with her and her videos. And within the first minute and 37 seconds, like I stated in the first video, is the core issue of my problems is because there's no consistency to it. She starts out using a advanced concept, like I'm restating. I've said it before, I'll say it again. She comes out using an advanced concept, correct? Like, superiorly advanced. And she's trying to explain it in simplistic terms. She's trying to simplify it. She's trying to talk down to her audience and make it more digestible for you. That's great. I have no problem with that. Like, literally, sometimes you have to do that with people. You don't have to do that with everybody, and you kind of shortcut yourself if you choose to do that all the time. But I have no problem with that as long as there's consistency to it. But there's the problem, and that's where I have a problem with it. There is no consistency. She goes in simplistically explaining an advanced concept, and then on a dime flips it to, okay, let me reiterate the terms and phrases that everybody knows and associates with this subject. Let me admit that I understand this and I know this, but then I'm going to try to isolate myself on a different level by then taking those terms and making myself look bigger than you and giving my own terms to those phrases and those explanations. Do you see my problem now? The Alchemist would never do this. The Alchemist has already gone through the stage of being the magician, being the teacher. He is the one that escorts the hero on their journey. She is not doing this. She is putting herself above the hero, above the journey, and saying that because she is so enlightened, she is so smart, that she can pick and choose what to call things now. I'm sorry, but I have always had a serious problem with this, even going back to my own generation and generations before this. There is a very clear and concise terminology to everything that has been laid down for thousands and thousands of years. You are not reinventing the wheel. Stick with what works. But you don't want to do that, do you? You want to put yourself above everybody else. You want to fuel your own self-importance. This is where the Heyoka empath in me just gets boiling. I can't stand it. But that is what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's the teacher wants to get through to you. The teacher does not want to be idolized. The teacher does not want to be deified. The teacher just wants the message to get through. And if you're going to clog it up with a bunch of new terminology that forces people to reprogram their own brains just to justify and satisfy your own ego, yours, not anybody else's, well then who the fuck are you? You're not even the magician. You haven't. What are you doing trying to enlighten people, trying to teach people? if you haven't even completed the lessons yourself? Like I said, George Lucas's example of the Force, the light body concept, everything in spirituality is baked into his concept of the Force. If there is a single alchemist on this motherfucking planet right now, it is George motherfucking Lucas. The man has perfectly detailed, not only Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, but Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, anything that has spiritual, progressive, evolving significance is baked into Star Wars. Why are you going to reinvent the wheel when the wheel's already perfect? That's your own arrogance. That's your own ego. That's you trying to put yourself above everybody else. And I'm sorry, you are never going to convince me otherwise. Sorry.